All right, let's go, IC people. Thanks everyone for joining today. Igor stepped out for just a moment, but I can give his intro while he gets back to his station. So Igor Ilic is I was wondering how to describe him right before this. I would say he's a Web3 professional doer. I don't know. We also played with Web3 shaman or Web3 evangelist. Well, he's ex Consensus, ex Definity. He's been a Web3 dev as a true OG for really quite a while. When did you first start building in Web3, Igor?
The first blockchain I started building with was NXT.
Oh, yeah.
And I was building in like 2013.
Wow.
Probably like October,
a decade.
October, November, December 2013. Yeah, decade. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And the anon dev of the NXT platform was named Jean-Luc Picard.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's wild. Yeah. So I mean, every time I've chatted with you, it's just been it's been awesome, man. Because you've got like, I mean, 10 years of experience. Frankly, it didn't seem like there's that many people around in crypto back in 2013. I mean, that's incredible. And I was just talking to you before we jumped on live about how I think that one of the most interesting things that maybe you can add to the conversation is just your perspective, because like on where we are in the bear cycle, because you've been a full-time builder in Web3 for multiple bear cycles now, and for most people it's their first time like really being as heavily in crypto as they were when this bear cycle started. And a lot of people are maybe disheartened, or it's a tough stretch, right? We've been in ICP in particular, like we started our mainnet launch right at the start of the bear market, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't seen the glory days of a bull cycle our entire existence as a chain.
I would even say like we launched at the like the right before the peak, so then that was the initial, because that was the SPF. I mean, according to Dom and Co, I don't, whatever, but like that was partially the SPF kind of, that was like Sam's last hurrah. Was the ICP token. And so it was kind of like, it's not just that we started in the bear market, it's that we started on the last like leg up, before falling off the cliff. And
I remember, and just like I describe it to people as it was a cluster of a flock of black swans all at once, because like there's FBF manipulation, there's other things, but even just the general crypto market, I remember distinctly, like I saw the live stream event announcing the chain, got super excited. It was like the first time I was like on CoinMarketCap the day of, like ready to buy as soon as it launched. The next day, like Bitcoin dropped 20%, and that was the first big drop of like the new bear cycle.
Right.
And it's just like the whole market, and that's outside of SBF and all the other stuff. It's just the market itself. That was the last day. So yeah, no, I think that it's really interesting. A lot of people, they believe in IC and they're building, but they've been disheartened, and it's tough. And you've been there. I mean, you've been there multiple times too, and very few other people can even say that or know what it's like. So I'm interested to dive in and chat with you about that in a bit. But I think, we talked a little bit about before the call about playing your recording first, because your talk is about building an L1 community, right? And I think it'd be great to like hear your thoughts, see your talk, and then from that context, talk about where we are in that journey as ICP.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's rock and roll.
Let's rock and roll. And after the video, we'll also talk about how you're the co-founder of one of the co-founders of Breakout, an amazing Web3 initiative in Brazil. And I think there's a lot to unpack, a lot to look forward to. So we're gonna get into the recording, and I will say, everybody, this is exciting because this is the last normal session. After this is the wrap up live stream, and we're done. All the content from the conference will be out there and made public. This is the last talk that we'll live stream, and it was the last talk of the conference. So everyone, thanks for.
Really?
Yeah, it was. You were the last speaker in the conference.
Oh wow, cool. Okay, yeah. Okay, awesome, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a few months ago, and I know you've been
glad to wrap up.
You talk at a lot of conferences too, and in fact, Breakout had their own conference a little bit before we did ours. I remember about your talk in particular. It was the only one where we had tech issues. I don't know what happened, but when you got on stage, your entire slide deck was just gone. It didn't work at all. So you had to do your whole talk without a slide deck. And then we got it working towards the end, and then you kind of like went through a refresh with the slide deck, which was great. But you handled it well. I don't think most of the people really even noticed, because you've done a lot of speaking. But I remember that's one of the adventures that we had, and it was right after too the impromptu panel with Dan, because Dan was supposed to give up and give a normal talk, and literally 10 minutes before, he surprised all the organizers by being like, "Oh, actually, I'm going to do a panel," and we had to scramble, run around with mics, and we had a surprise panel of 4 people on stage, and then the tech issue with yours, and I'm just glad it was at the end of the conference, not the beginning.
That's right. So, well, let's do it. Let's jump in.
All right, let's jump in. Yeah. We'll see y'all back on the other side, and add your questions on YouTube as you watch the recording, and I'll be marking off questions to bring up to Igor on the other side of this. So see y'all in a bit. This is the very last live stream session and the last session from ICP Community Conference.
Please join me in welcoming Igor Ilic to tell us about growing an L1 community. Hello. Cool. So I thought that was a really, really great panel. I know I'm the last speaker before we wrap up, but I think the spiciness is good. Keep it civil, but I think it's really important for the community. I think this community is passionate about this technology. I think this community realizes that this technology, the ICP, offers something different in the blockchain landscape, and I think it's great that we have these conversations, and it would be way worse, I think, if at the end of day 2 we were all just waiting to go to the bar and not wanting to talk about the things that we're here for. So spiciness is great, and it's great to see. And I think the panel actually dovetails into my talk a little bit. You guys stole a little of my thunder, but that's cool. I took notes, so I might riff on some of the things that you were talking about. But my talk is growing an L1 community. My slide's up. So real quick, who am I? My name is Igor Ilic. I have been around the crypto space for a pretty long time. I was fairly early into Bitcoin. Big part of the New York Bitcoin scene. That's actually where I met Ruben way back when. We go back to 2014, 2015. I was an early employee at Consensus. Consensus is an Ethereum company founded by a co-founder of Ethereum, Joseph Lubin. I joined Consensus the day after the Ethereum Genesis block. I was there for 6 years. I joined the Definity Foundation after Consensus as DevRel. I was joking, like my karma here is pretty good because I was giving people money while I was at the Definity Foundation as the grants lead with Alexa Smith. And so, you know, I have this window of seeing these communities grow. I mean, I'm just another block in the chain. I haven't launched my own token. I haven't created my own network, but I've been a part of these communities as they've grown. And I have seen I've seen things that work to help to grow a community. And I think that context and that perspective is always really interesting. When Mike was talking earlier, he made a point like a different type of 8-year gang. And I think the 8-year gang is a pretty interesting meme that we have in our community. So if you can quickly think about 8 years ago was May 17th, 2015. So 8 years sounds like a long time, but 2015 doesn't seem like it was that far away. So if you could think about where you were May 17th, 2015, in the context of growing blockchain communities, I could tell you I was in Wilmington, Delaware. I was working full-time as a software engineering consultant for a company called ThoughtWorks, doing consulting for a major bank, which was a lot of long hours. I was working with a team in India, helping to manage. And then at night, after work, I was trying to break out of the matrix by getting into crypto, Web3 full-time. May 17th, 2015, Ethereum hadn't even launched yet. So if we're talking about the 8-year gang with the Internet Computer, we're talking about growing the L1 community of the Internet Computer. Still no, okay. And we think about time context, and we think about Ethereum today in this massive juggernaut of innovation and funding rounds and how many cycles we've had and how much our language has changed, how much our culture has changed because of crypto. 8 years ago, it wasn't even live. And so, I do think that's super interesting context. And so through that journey, going back and I can even go a few years before May 17, 2015, where my kind of full-time blockchain journey started. Actually, my full-time blockchain journey started with Coursera. Balaji hosted a course called Startup Engineering on Coursera for free. And I took it in the summer of 2013, I think, or the spring of 2013. And he was teaching people how to be Bitcoin entrepreneurs, and that's kind of where I really wanted to do this full time. So from 2013 on is basically the window. Okay, now they're updated. So yeah, great timing because I was okay. So we'll go through learnings from the Bitcoin community, learnings from the Ethereum community, and kind of some closing thoughts. Who I am, blah blah blah. We went through that. So okay, so going to that 2013 timeframe, and starting with the learnings from the Bitcoin community, and I think again props to Code and State for bringing us all here together because physical spaces really do matter. Being in person, we're all on Twitter, we're all on Discord, we're all on Slack. That's all great, but you still can't match the value of meeting up in person, going to dinners, having some drinks, talking things through, sharing, retweeting, showing the world that we're together, that we're learning, that we're having these conversations. This physical space specifically, this is a photo from the Bitcoin Center in New York City, which was an event space opened by a gentleman named Nick Spanos. I think he's actually Miami-based now, but Bitcoin OG, super Bitcoin OG, real estate tycoon in New York. He leased a retail space on 40 Broad Street in New York City. So you can imagine, well, if you've never been to 40 Broad, you don't know where 40 Broad Street is. It's in the heart of the financial district of New York City. It's right next to the New York Stock Exchange. So you can imagine the rent was not cheap for the Bitcoin Center, but it was almost a political statement. It's like, you know what? We're here with Bitcoin, and we are going to be here. We are going to grow this community. We are going to grow this community. We're going to educate people about financial freedom. We're going to educate people about what this technology is all about, and we're going to do it in the physical space. So, I mean, did anyone go to the Bitcoin Center in New York City? I'm just out of curious. Any hands? A few hands. 1, 2, 3. It was a really cool spot. If you look at the number of people here in this photo, I mean, it's maybe not even bigger than the size of this conference, right? But it's a starting point in the chain of introducing new people, teaching new people, advocating for the technology, advocating for the community, advocating for the message, advocating for the reason to be a part of a movement, a part of the technology. This is actually a photo of my brother wearing my jacket. I thought I would put it up there just to troll him a little bit. They're in front of the New York Stock Exchange making a Bitcoin transaction, peer-to-peer, through their phones. The physical spaces allow, I guess the resolution's a little bit, the physical spaces allow for unique experiences to be created and to kind of create a conversation. The next kind of learning from the Bitcoin ecosystem is let the ecosystem thought leader shine, and I apologize for the resolution on these. That's a photo of Andreas Antonopoulos. That is at the Bitcoin Center, the same physical event space at 40 Broad Street. If you have spent any time in the Bitcoin community, I think you have watched, heard, listened to, read something from Andreas Antonopoulos. He is maybe after Satoshi, like the single most, I don't want to be controversial, but one of the more influential thought leaders in the Bitcoin ecosystem, because he is a teacher, he is a guru, he is actually pretty neutral, right? Like, he definitely has political opinions about the meaning of the technology and what the political, financial ramifications of Bitcoin are, but he's not one of these kind of, libertarian, flag-wielding, anti-establishment. I mean, he does have that flavor, but that's not the main purpose of what he talks about. The main purpose of what he talks about is arming people with the knowledge of the technology. And the Bitcoin community has embraced Andreas Antonopoulos, and they really create this platform to let him shine and let him be the beacon and let him be the role model and let him set, the tone for how the community means to let more people in, and how the community means to teach people about the technology. And so I think it's a really interesting thought for us as the internet computer community. I think everyone has their favorite thought leaders. We definitely have thought leaders in this community, and they represent, I think the spirit of Andreas Antonopoulos, being technically minded, being, open to teaching, pushing the envelope forward. And I think, retweet your thought leaders, invite them to panels, invite them to presentations, invite them to kind of give give more talks, and also like emulate them. You know, I don't know if I've completely lifted an Andreas Antonopoulos talk before, but I've definitely, you know, at college events, at university campuses, when I've talked on behalf of Consensus for the Ethereum community or even the Bitcoin community, I've used his notes. I've used his way of, I think he explains proof of work. The first time I heard him explain proof of work, he described it as a Sudoku puzzle. And when he was explaining difficulty adjustment, you know, Sudoku is like 1 through 9, right? And the difficulty adjustment is like, okay, everyone in the room is doing the Sudoku puzzle, and then some people start doing it faster. And then so now instead of 1 through 9, everyone has to do it from 1 through 10. And then it's like, oh, now Sudoku's harder because it's another digit. And maybe everyone can't do 1 through 10, so then they replace it back to 1 through 9, and people can't do 1 through 9, so it goes 1 through 8, and that's like the difficulty readjustment for Bitcoin, as an example. Was able to use that kind of way of describing proof of work to audiences that wanted to learn to help them bridge the gap. We don't really describe proof of work anymore to people, which is great. But you know, imitate your thought leaders, your ecosystem thought leaders. The next learning is that meme culture is essential to growing these communities. Physical is important, but digital is where we scale, right? And I mean, HODL was a typo on the Bitcoin Talk forums. That's the origin story of HODL. Someone typoed hold, and it became a meme that has been a rallying cry to this day, to be honest, of the Bitcoin community and of the broader Web3 community. And it helps to grow that community. It helps to create this tribe. It helps to create this mentality of, yes, we're in it together. Yes, we have a political philosophy. We have a group identity, and part of that group identity is hodling. This is probably my favorite Bitcoin era meme. This is the whale bear. I don't remember exactly when this happened, but basically there was a whale who had a huge cell wall, maybe 2014, something like that. And then the bulls kind of ate through the cell wall, and then the whole community celebrated by slaying the bear whale, which is like, you know, this is a beautiful piece of art, I think. And of course, you know, this is Satoshi. Just the legacy of Satoshi as a meme itself will forever be with us, which, you know, genius storytelling, right? Whoever Satoshi was. But it's this like interesting part of the forever lore of this whole ecosystem. And all these things put together create a narrative, they create a story. It's not just about a piece of technology, it's not just about code, it's about a community, it's about the memes, it's about the storytelling, it's about the origin. All of these things are important to growing a community. The next learning, and maybe this is a weird learning from the Bitcoin community, but the next learning is embrace other technologies. In the early days of Bitcoin, before there was Ethereum, before there was Ripple, before there were, you know, Litecoin or anything, everyone in the Bitcoin community was imagining the future of smart contracts and blockchain technology. They were all imagining it together as Bitcoiners. And actually, in the very early Bitcoin days, it was a very innovative space. This is a picture of Charlie Lee. He was one of the first people to actually say, like, wait a minute, you know, to Jordan's point, wait a minute, this is open source technology. Like, I want to take this, I want to remix it, I want to build my own thing, you know. And he deployed Litecoin, which is still, you know, a technology that's in use today. I mean, we don't really talk about Litecoin that often, but, you know, Doge is a fork of Litecoin, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, if there is no Litecoin, we don't have Dogecoin, we then don't have this meme coin phenomenon, right? So you never know how these things evolve. I mean, to the idea of like gardening, you kind of plant some seeds and you see what grows, and okay, maybe over here I don't need to water as much, maybe over here I need, more sunlight or whatever. You kind of have to see how things evolve, but embracing technologies is a really important thing to help your community establish a culture of experimentation, to establish a culture of planting many seeds, establish a culture of allowing the culture to remix, to embrace new things. If you heard Bob Bodley talk yesterday, I mean, I love the idea of ordinals. The fastest ordinals exchange can only be on the internet computer. Like, that's awesome. I think that's a super, and actually it's awesome as a Bitcoiner, because these maximalists hate ordinals, which for me is great. Like getting under the skin of Bitcoin maximalists is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And like ordinals are great because like they're starting to break through this like wall of anti-innovation that Bitcoiners have had for a few years. And anyways, I'm digressing, but again, the resolution here is a little bit bad, but this says the Bitcoin Center, so the same physical event space, presents What is Ethereum with Vitalik Buterin, 7 p.m. Thursday, June 19, 2014, 40 Broad Street. And so the Bitcoin Center in 2014 was one of the launching pads of the Ethereum technology. New York was a very major city in the growth development of Ethereum. The consensus headquarters is 49 Bogart in Bushwick. And so, again, that physical event space, coupled with embracing other technologies, plants a seed, that help to create Ethereum, help to grow the entire ecosystem. So that's some learnings from Bitcoin. Learning from Ethereum, moving on, and again, the Genesis block of Ethereum was July 31st of 2015. Again, Jordan, developers. I told you stole some of my thunder, but all good. That's not my meme, that's Steve Ballmer. If you don't know this meme, you should YouTube it because it's legendary. So when I was at Consensus, I was a tech lead, really focused on, again, like developer growth, adoption, etc. And I would often do this search on GitHub. And if you don't know about this, you can actually use GitHub search, and you could do extension and a colon, and then you can put the file extension of a piece of code. So you could do this with JavaScript, Python, etc., etc., etc. Here I'm doing extension colon SOL for Solidity, and I've done this search, maybe every quarter since 2015. And in 2015, this would have 100 results. In 2016, maybe 1,000. In 2017, maybe 10,000. In 2018, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, this was done maybe last week. You go on GitHub and you search for Solidity contracts, you get over 9 million code results, which is like amazing, fascinating. Really, really, if you want to think about growth metrics for a community, for a piece of technology, like this is indisputable growth, right? There's 9 million pieces of code on GitHub right now that have a file extension of Solidity. The reason that's important from a developer's perspective, the more code that exists for an L1 community, the more the novice junior developer who's just getting started, they can search, they can copy paste, they can experiment, they could reuse code, they don't have to reinvent the wheel. Again, OpenZeppelin, for example, everyone uses OpenZeppelin. And maybe like 3 million of these 9 million results are just forks of OpenZeppelin, but that's okay because it's a resource to help. Oops. I'm having all my technical difficulties. It's a resource to help new developers onboard. So developers, we need to keep that focus. Another learning is fake it till you make it. So again, the resolution here is not that great, but this is a photo, screenshot of a flyer that we had at Consensus of all the products that Consensus had at a given point in time. Maybe this was 2018. And then this, if you can see the red X's, are the X's. The X's are the ones that don't exist anymore, right? And so the ones that do exist, I mean, mainly is MetaMask, Infura, and a few others. But when we were putting out this flyer, we were really pumping our chests out and saying, like, we actually have all of these products and they all work, and they all are on Ethereum, and they all showcase the power and value of Ethereum. And you know, they did work to some extent. They all had websites, they all had documentation, etc. But a lot of them failed, right? And that's okay. I think startups fail. I think that's not a controversial statement. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to iterate, and it's okay to like present as though like you want this thing to be a success. You want this product to be a real thing. You want it to have a nice landing page, nice branding, nice marketing. Even if it's not, you know, 100% live or production ready, fake it till you make it is actually like a pretty legitimately good use case. I mean, you don't want to like scam people. Obviously, you don't want to be lying to people. You don't want to be defrauding people. This is terrible ideas. Like if you have that in your mind, like go away, build on Solana or something. But this idea of like, okay, yeah, like present yourself as a professional group of people who actually want to like create a product that really solves user problems. Like, by all means, make a brand, make a landing page, pick a color scheme, you know, create a design and market your product. I know I said developers as the first slide, and so this is a little bit of a contradiction, but it is not just about developers. You know, the question back there about talking to the real humans and explaining things for the real humans. I think the Ethereum community got this pretty early, pretty quickly. So this is a screenshot of one of the first dApps from Ujo Music. It was a collaboration with an artist named Imogen Heap. She released a song called Tiny Human, I believe was the name of the song. And the Ujo team created a smart contract whereby when you want to buy the Tiny Human song, you pay the smart contract, and then in the smart contract, all of the people that contributed to that song had their royalty payout embedded in the smart contract. And so for every purchase, the smart contract distributed the royalties. I mean, it wasn't the solution to the music industry's, you know, royalty, you know, complexity or anything, but it was a showcase. It was a very early showcase about what we are thinking about as a community, what kinds of problems we want to solve, what is interesting to us about approaching, and it showcased that we're not here to just do it by ourselves as developers, as technologists. No, we want to bring along the artists, we want to bring along other communities, we want to bring along creatives, we want to change the conversation between consumers and producers, and we want to kind of showcase that this technology can disintermediate and at the end of the day create better solutions. And so realizing that it's not just about software engineers engineering software to create, you know, the coolest smart contracts, it is about engaging other communities. The next lesson is be weird and kind of embrace the chaos. This is a screenshot of CryptoKitties. CryptoKitties were kind of like the first-ish, depends on who you ask, NFT that really had mainstream appeal, mainstream adoption. And like, you know, they're weird. Like, you breed the cats and then you can like, you know, create new cats and they have traits and all this kind of stuff. And it's weird and it's kind of like cringe maybe, you know, Beanie Babies or whatever, but like, you know, the Ethereum community just like embraces, like, okay, we got cats clogging the chains, you know, like, and there's articles on Coinbase, CoinDesk about how like CryptoKitties is going to destroy the Ethereum network because blah blah blah, and it's just like noise from CoinDesk. But like that was actually an early stress test of Ethereum. It's like, oh, there's cats clogging the tubes. Like, how do we scale? Like, let's start thinking about these layer 2s. Let's start thinking about scaling opportunities. Let's use this like lightning in a bottle, and CryptoKitties lasted maybe like, I don't know, 8 to 15 months, more or less. And it was a lightning in a bottle, and they faded away. But while it was a lightning in a bottle, the community used that as a tool to learn about how the network reacts to this sort of volume, what kind of things people want to do. Oh, you mean that people want to buy these things and trade them and have games and like through CryptoKitties you then get Axie Infinity, right? Maybe you don't have Axie Infinity if CryptoKitties never exists. Maybe you don't have the NFT boom if CryptoKitties wasn't this weird experiment that they just like, Dapper Labs just decided to launch. And so be weird. Like, weird is good. I teach my daughters, like, weird is a good word, like embrace that, embrace the chaos. And so, my time is running short, and I know I'm the last speaker before we wrap up, but just a couple things, embrace winners. I guess we're in a winter. I think this is the first winter where the global macro has moved away from a quantitative easing environment, and like interest rates are up. And so it might be an extended winter. It might be like, I mean, I don't know, but like I'm a crypto person, so I've been predicting the cascading collapse of the financial, infrastructure since 2012. So who knows if this time it's for real. Let's hope. Maybe, I don't know, And so it might be an extended winter. We might, who knows? Like maybe ICP is $5 for the next 2 years. Like if that's like the saddest thing that I could say, like maybe you shouldn't be in this community, honestly, because like the price stuff, and the next slide is except that the market is cyclical. The price stuff, like obviously, like token go up, like number go up, like yeah, fine. Like we all want number to go up, but like there's a lot of building left to be done on this community. There's a lot of tooling. There's a lot of, I think one of the things in the panel that I wanted to raise my hand on is there's actually a segment of developers that aren't really represented at all, and those are like the infrastructure DevOpsy people, which I come from that tradition. It's like, what about node providers? What about other node softwares? What about sidecar apps for node providers? Like, I think there's this whole uncharted set of code and infrastructure service providers that hasn't even started to be tapped yet, or at least is not really talked about in the community, as far as I know. Whereas with Ethereum, from the beginning they had 5 different clients. They had Haskell, Go, Python, Java, and I'm sure maybe they had 4. I don't know, but they had a lot of clients. And they still do. They still do, and it's a big part of their core thesis is client diversity. And it's like, well, we don't have client diversity. We don't even know how to deploy, a node. Like, you can't even really run a load locally. There is no like local RPC or anything like that. And so like, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's not a good thing. But the point is, we still have a lot of building to do. And I think like, winters are the best time to do the building because the builders, they hunker down and they build, and like it's a part of the journey, right? Like enjoy. Like I like winters more than I like summers, like because when the booms come, and like all the people that are only here for the short-term profits show up. Like Solana ends up being $300, SBF makes his billions, and then like eventually it collapses, and then like we all look bad, and so winters are good. Except that the market is cyclical again. Who knows how long this winter may last, but in general, financial markets are cyclical, right? So kind of like you know, if you're anxious about the price, you know, like I get it, I've been there or whatever, but you kind of like, I think like watching charts and being focused on the price obsessively is an anti-pattern. My personal 2 thoughts, kind of like chill out, zoom out, build, trust, and you know, like go into the communities, use the technologies that you think are interesting. If you don't think ICP is interesting, like, okay, that's cool. You know, no one's forcing you to be here. In this talk, like one thing I didn't super talk about is the tech, right? I think I talked about communities. I think I talked about memes, culture, physical spaces, being weird, using, you know, meeting other. I didn't really talk about tech. Like growing an L1 community, obviously the tech is important. But these things are, growing a community is about people, right? And how the people interact, what norms they have, what kind of values they share. And so, yeah, I mean, that's it. Thank you so much. And again.
All right. I like it. You know, it's crazy. I'm feeling like it takes me back to the conference. That was such a great, I ended on such a high note, man. It felt like those were my people, right? Like it's a good group.
No, it was an awesome group. It was a lot of fun. You know, and I'm in Tampa, and so it was a short trip for me too. So that was nice. You know,
yeah. I think there's, like, you hit it on that nail on the head. There's something to like seeing people in real life, and there's that connection that you can have where it's like I know, like before the conference, there's some people who had kind of confided in me, like you would never guess that they were having their doubts about ICP because they're such like OGs in the space. And they went to the conference and they're like, honestly, I needed this so much. I didn't realize I think part of it is just looking around and seeing the other people you respect and you look up to that are intelligent, also having enthusiasm. And in a bear market, especially, like that's really helpful to kind of like keep the faith, so to speak, and like keep fighting the fight and building and not letting the price actions and stuff like that get to your head.
Totally. And you know, like, and we'll talk about Brazil and breakout and stuff like that. But you know, we're in Brazil, like in the community, and like you look around and you see the excitement and the people and the questions and just the engagement together and all that stuff. And it's like sometimes it's like, what bear market? Like, yeah, there's this big like number and the prices are going down or whatever, but the energy and enthusiasm and all these kinds of things in person, you know, you wouldn't know. And look, like, this is like kind of an annual thing, I think, and not financial advice. Please, nobody trade on what I'm about to say. But like, there's this phenomenon of ETH Denver every February, end of every February, and like, there's always a price rally after ETH Denver because it's freaking 50,000 people hacking together. And everyone reposting, retweeting, and then people are like, holy crap, there's literally 50,000 people sitting in a room in Denver in the winter, like,
yeah,
giving each other COVID and like hacking on Ethereum. Yeah, it's like there's always this thing. And so I think in person and people seeing people connecting in person is just, it's always going to be a super powerful thing. I mean, we're people, we're humans, like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I went to ETH Denver this year. It was wild. But I also like what you showed of like you know, that little meetup posting about come meet Vitalik Return to ask your like, yeah, like you got to start somewhere, right? We're only 2 years in, and we've got a long way to go. And I'm really proud of, considering the challenges that we faced, especially. I'm proud of where ICP's gotten. Yeah, I see people building incredible things right now in this bear market.
So just to piggyback on what you just said, we're only 2 years in. Like, I want everyone to do this empirical study themselves, right? Like, go on Etherscan /block, and you put in block 1 million. Okay, block 1 million was February 2016. Total transactions 2. Go to block 2 million. Block 2 million was August 2016.
And you'd already been full time for like 3 years at that point, and there's 2 blocks, two transactions.
2 transactions. Block 2 million. Total transactions 1. Block 3 million, January 15, 2017. Total transactions, 6. Block 4 million, July 9, 2017. Total transactions, 69. It's not until block 5 million, which was 2018, that you're over 100 transactions on average per block, right? I mean, I'm just taking one block as the sample, but so like it's and again, this is empirical.
Wow, you honestly just kind of blew my mind there. Like I knew that like we were actually doing good in comparison to where Ethereum was 2 years into its initiation.
It's
like
not even close, man. It's not even close. Like
I didn't realize that. We're like, wow. That's...
And I think that's and I said it a lot of times in that talk. And by the way, this was the first time I watched the talk. It was cool for me, and I'm glad I'm not wearing the same clothes. That's always embarrassing. You're wearing the same clothes as a recording of you.
It's consistency.
But in that talk, even I said like if the price metric is the thing that's like causing you to lose sleep, and it's the thing that's making you the saddest, like look, like that's actually like an unhealthy. Like you need to like step back and touch grass and like reconsider why you are kind of here. And look, like everyone's got to eat, right? Everyone's got to provide. Everyone's got to like take care of themselves, right? So I'm not trying to like minimize that need that we all have. Obviously, we all have that. But like this technology space is a high risk, early, young, anti-establishment set of technologies. So we're going to face headwinds the whole way through, right?
Yeah, it's not just a tech revolution, it's an actual revolution. Like,
yeah, it's an actual revolution. And so it's like, what do we talk about? We talk about disintermediating the billionaire bankers and like, people that are extracting value from the financial system. Of course, there's going to be challenges. Of course, it's not going to be like an easy thing. And so if like not flipping your NFT for profit is the thing that like makes you sad and gets you depressed and stuff, like, then honestly, like go like try and flip a Rolex or something, like something that has an established market that isn't like flipping NFTs. Like people flip whatever, you can flip anything. And so like, if you're also not believing in what the thing is here to do and why we are here, then like zoom out, focus on your mental, and like go try something else instead, because like it definitely isn't just going to be a walk in the park.
Dude, I'm pumped. Like, yeah, crypto is a power grab by we the people. It's just saying, like, hey, we're gonna take over. Like, y'all haven't done a bad job, and we can,
Web3 is political, and if you think that Web3 is not political, then like go back to the lesson, like go back to studying about it, right? Because the origins are cypherpunk, right? The origins are like all the way back. Like Thomas Jefferson would have been in Web3, right? Like
that's funny to think of, but you're right. He'll be backing up his seed phrase, and I mean, it's political, but not in a divisive way. In a let's roll up our sleeves and stop talking and fix it ourselves way. Like it's a tech revolution that does something, right? And I think that
it's anti-establishment, and so like
yeah.
The other side has the money and has the power and has the influence, right? We have the technology and we have the innovation and we have the spirit, right? So that's the clash. But like when you go against it's David and Goliath, right? Like it's this classical story. When you go against the Goliath, like it's not gonna be easy. But like that like Bitcoin and Satoshi was the first kind of like sling that David throws into Goliath's eye, and so like that's kind of like what we're working on, and it sounds like ominous and all these kinds of things, but it doesn't like strictly have to be super ominous. Like it's also a lot of fun. It's also really interesting. It's also sci-fi in a lot of ways, and so it's like all these
No,
things,
it's,
all these things are rolled up into Web3.
and I've done a lot of thinking lately, especially about like how is Web3's real world use case going to, the one that's going to make it mainstream where everybody's on it, like what's that going to be? And one of the thoughts I've had is that, first off, it's a different type of innovation. It's a step function in like what's possible. So like those are always the harder innovations to see coming because you can't really predict them. It's not like a clear need like AI. It makes certain really obvious things faster, right? It's not the same as that, but it's almost like part of the answer is like ownership. Like how do you build a product on a new tech and sell it to the owner of something if the product itself is a better way to own something or to like collective ownership it? So it's like people don't want to buy the replacement. So it might not even be like a service that's sold. It might be like a movement that grows, that is people taking ownership of something, taking control. So I think it's really interesting too how you mentioned it's not a technical talk. I think that we get sucked into these technical talks in our ecosystem too much, where we get like defensive and people say, oh, ICP is not decentralized enough. And then, they honestly don't care. Like they go and use Binance Smart Chain, which is just Binance's EVM. Like that's not really why they're not like let's I think maybe the whole fact of like we can have democratized app ownership and there's other things. So let me get into we're gonna get into questions a little bit, and then before that, I do want to get into you talking about Breakout. And I know we might be a little tight on time, and we might go over. I don't know if you've got a little time, but before all that, perfect. And before that, I have a surprise. We've never done anything like this on these live streams, but you inspired me. So while I set this little ticker up, and while you're recording what's going on, because I think your whole talk and just your whole vibe, it's all about action, right? We don't want to just be sitting here. So this is a surprise listener challenge. We've got 30 people watching us live right now. You talked about how memes are important for like the vibe of an ecosystem, the vibe of a community. So if we can get 15 memes or so out there, even just 50% of the listeners to make memes, I say let's do it. And the interesting thing about ICP is memefighter.app. It's hosted on ICP. So you can use an ICP app to make a meme for ICP, which is, awesome that we can do that. And in fact, it kind of fits the theme and the vibe because one of the co-founders of Meme Fighter is Jesse, our MC at the conference, right? So, yeah, if everyone listening, while we wrap up this live stream and even after, I encourage you to promote the ICP community by using tweeting a meme with hashtag ICP, and you can make that meme at memefighter app, memefighter.app/create. So I'll put that challenge out there, and yeah, Igor, why don't you tell us a little bit about Breakout and just the work that you're doing to spread the Web3 gospel right to Brazil.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, so I'm based in Brazil, which is like a super cool place, and my Portuguese game has stepped up, and we started Breakout with the idea of kind of growing the Web3 community. I mean, there are Web3 projects in Brazil. There are a lot of Web3 teams in Brazil. I don't think a lot of North Americans know a lot about Brazil, but it's the fourth largest economy in the Americas. Sao Paulo just became the single largest city in the Americas, in the entire Americas. Brazilians are digital natives. There's 200 million digital natives in Brazil. It's a young, vibrant culture. Obviously, they're the best football players in the world. And so there's a lot of interesting things going on. A lot of artists, a lot of culture, and so I just wanted to add to the mix and kind of help to build the community, help to grow the community. I think in the talk I said I love winters, and I think that winters are the best time to build. And so in the spirit of action, so we built a brand, we built a company. We threw a conference in March. It went really, really well. It was in Sao Paulo. We're looking to throw another conference next year. And in the meantime, we're working with brands. So what we like to say is we bring Web3 to Brazil, and we bring Brazil to Web3. And so, stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be launching a few Brazilian artists doing their initial NFT drops, generative NFT drops. We partnered with a project on Arbitrum, so it's not specifically ICP for this drop, but we love to collaborate with different projects, different teams, and so stay tuned, and then there'll be more from us over time.
Awesome. And I love generative art. I think it's just a really cool frontier, and a lot of people listening probably don't even know, like you were really just it was great having your support, like but before the ICP conference. Cedric and I got on a call with you, and you gave us some great advice, which was to don't be afraid to break out, get weird, and invite strange people and artists, and we were in a tight timeline. I wish we could could have gotten weirder, but we're definitely going to try this next conference coming up to push the envelope. I just love that theme. So let me jump in and have some questions brought up from the community. There's quite a bit for here. I think this one was really interesting though, by Maggie Bex. How do you balance the needs of the community with the goals of the project? Because I think a lot of people are approaching this from different angles. Some people are trying to build like an ICP, just a community to promote ICP as a whole. But some people are also building communities for their own projects, like Code State. We're trying to build a community as well. So like for those projects that are trying to build communities, like I think it's good to ask, how do you balance those things?
That's like a super profound question. And a super hard one, honestly. I think the first thing that comes to mind is you have to be realistic about the assets that you have, and assets in this case is probably people and resources. And so if you don't have, I don't know, just if you don't have a social media person, for example, right? Be aware that that's a gap. Okay. And try to fill that gap with whatever means that you can in the meantime. But at the same time, don't kill yourself just trying to focus on social media and going on this oh, we have this gap and it's the most important thing to fix. It's well, no, we don't have a social media person right now. Let's focus on trying to get to the place where we can have one. In the meantime, let's focus on where our skills are and where our strengths are. And so knowing what resources you have, what assets you have, I think is important. I also think it's where is the traction, right? If you're doing what you're doing and it's 6 months later and you have or maybe, I don't know, 6 months is too soon. I think okay, if you're doing what you're doing and it's 30 months later, right? Your traction metric is still completely flatlined, right? Then your balance is wrong, right? Because the name of the game is growth, and it doesn't have to be hockey stick growth. It's just growth, consistent growth over time, and whatever that slope is up to you. But consistent growth over time is important, right? And so if you're flatlined, then your balance is off. And so, for example, if you are focusing too much on the needs of the community, right? Oh, we want the button to be pink. It's okay, we're going to focus on making the button pink, right? And you do that for those 30 months. You're just responding to the community, and then the growth is flat. Then your balance is off. Your balance is too much listening to what your community wants and not actually focusing on the goals of the project, right? And so having an understanding, I think, and this is being a founder. This is where leadership is required, and why it's a hard thing. Leadership is not easy, right? Leadership is required to do that balance, and there's no silver bullet. It has to be an iterative thing. It has to be a week over week thing. It's what do we care about? What does the community care about? Let's put it on a wall and let's prioritize the things. And then for this week, let's focus on our top 3 priorities and see what the result is. And then the next week, let's analyze last week and do the same thing over again. And week over week, consistent, consistent kind of thing. It's like, you're not going to go to the gym for 3 days and get a 6-pack, right? You got to like be consistent. You got to be disciplined. And I think that balance is a question of consistency also.
Great. That's an awesome answer.
Great, super question.
Yeah, I like that one too. Thanks for that. I've had this question myself. I think, what types of content are most effective for attracting new members to a crypto community? I think this is kind of touches a hot point for IC. It's like I know when I ask people like, how did you hear about ICP? A lot of them, it was like kind of like me, like the random YouTube notification for the mainnet launch party. But yeah, it's just like, I feel like I get a different answer every time I ask someone, and this is just a lot of different ways to approach it. It can be overwhelming. But I'm just curious. It's like, what types of content have you seen, in your decade being involved in Web3 that have helped bring completely new members into a community? Or help?
I think my gut tells me that the reason that it's a different answer every time you ask a different person is because it evolves, not a static thing. Right. And so 10 years ago, you could have posted a picture of a Spartan from 300 and gotten, 10,000 retweets. You do that again this year and like you'll get buried by the algorithm. And so it evolves, and it is a constant kind of evolution, especially as new technologies and new other things get into the mix. Right. And so you have to, I think, appreciate that there is a meta. Right. There is all the L1s, there's all the L2s, there's all the tokens or whatever, but then there's also a meta that is cultural, and those kinds of things. It's like, why is Mr. Beast the biggest YouTuber in the galaxy? It's because he understands the meta. Right, he understands what it is, just like intrinsically. He's like the Rick Rubin of YouTubing or whatever. He just like has it in his soul to understand the meta of his audience, and is just able to continuously reinvent the content to grow his distribution channel. And so it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but I think like there is no single one answer to that. It's like understand your specific audience, right? And understand like because like attracting new members to a crypto community. Well, a crypto community could be huge. Are you an L1? Are you an L2? Are you an NFT project? Are you a token project? Are you a research project? Are you a security project? Right? There is no like single mold of a crypto community. And so just to riff on that, like, let's say you're a security project, strictly like deep smart contract security thing. What could attract new members is by posting like a puzzle challenge or something that nobody is able to solve, and that can go viral in the security smart contract audit community, but like the NFT guys would have no idea what to do with it. And so you have to understand your audience, and you have to understand the meta, and you have to break down your specific community and understand what your specific community is, and then appeal to those people and build bridges to the real world into your crypto community. And also understand like what the realistic mass market appeal is. Like if you are a security project, you're not going to have as many followers as Kim Kardashian, right? Like it's just not going to, it's not the same magnitude of a niche. And so you have to be realistic as well, I think.
Yeah, it's not a cop-out answer at all. Actually, I think that's actually really good advice. I mean, basically, the most effective type of content is something they haven't seen before, something new. Like, and I think it's relevant for IC because we can do things that can't be done on other chains. So we need to, and I felt this for a while, we need to do more of showing that off, not just talking about it,
totally,
but showing it, right?
Well, that's what it was, we were talking backstage, and it was like, did you have any advice for the ICP community? And it's like, the thing that came into my head is like, show it, right? Like,
show, don't tell.
Yeah, like the personal asset canisters or whatever, like show more of those things. Like,
Mhm.
and I think that we're just like still barely scratching. You know, it's like
Yeah.
this generative art thing that we're gonna launch on, right? Super cool platform. It's run by Artblocks Engine. It's on Arbitrum, but it's almost like the artists and the developers write their code offline and then like run their code. They like send their code to Artblocks Engine, and then Artblocks Engine like generates the NFTs on chain, right? And it's like, so there's this like middle piece that does the on chain, and it's like, guess what? ICP, like end to end, right? Like,
Yeah.
you could write your code in an IDE whose web front end is hosted on the ICP, compile on the ICP, and then like generate the art itself on chain.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just like a high level idea.
But you know, I would say let's go even further than that, because I think we've seen too much of, oh, ICP can do this, but more of it is hosted on. No, let's create like new types of Web3 assets that could only ever be made on
Totally.
Web3. So I'll do this right now. We got people listening. If anybody's graduated Motoko Bootcamp, you can have enough talent to make any of these things in a week. And there's 3 ideas I've had. I'm just going to throw out there for anyone to go and use however they want. Cross-chain synced assets. You can create a NFT collection that you transfer it on Polygon, but it also transfers on Arbitrum or other EVM chains all at once. So the state is synced across chains. We can do that with ICP threshold ECDSA. Limited, what was I going to call it? Like an NFT collection that's an event. So basically an NFT collection that's mass airdropped to everybody, and it has a timer and it's gone after a month. It only exists for a simulator. So it's not a long-term collectible. It's an event. Maybe the NFT itself could be a game. You only get 2 tries to play the game and the NFT burns, but then the whole collection's gone and there's a leaderboard or some type of way, you know, people can try to have money. And the third one, this one's a joke a little bit. I had an idea for a token called Rug, where you basically every single time it's traded, there's a rug function that has a probability of being triggered, where all of the liquidity is drained and sent to the top holders. So it's a self-destructing token asset that will just like rug itself at some point, and then nobody can predict. So like we can make interactive, new, different, weird types of assets. Like not just more of it's hosted on chain, but no one's ever seen an asset that does this. Like that's more of what we need, that we can show off. And let's do it in a way that's friendly, that integrates, that works with EVM. So like, you know, show an EVM and an NFT that they didn't think was possible, and then they learn, oh, ICP made it possible, and then that will bring them in. So yeah.
Even to just to riff on that, like if you're sitting there trying to think of something like creative, like, well, what's something creative that only ICP can do, and you know, you just give a few examples, but like go on OpenChat and talk to ChatGPT and kind of like describe ICP for it, because it doesn't have a lot of context of what ICP is, but like describe ICP for it, and then like prompt it with like, what are some creative projects that I could do that are only available on this kind of infrastructure that wouldn't be able to be done on something like Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever. And you know what? It'll give you like, it'll be a brainstorming partner with you.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I don't think that ICP is quite there yet to be this distribution of like, if you do something cool, unique, and innovative, that there's going to be like 1 billion people buying your token or whatever, or the market cap's going to just go, you know, like we're not there yet. Okay. But like, I mean, like dragons, like if you bought an SNS1, you're up, what is it right now? Who's got it? 490? You're up 490x, right? And like, I don't know what people think about dragons or whatever, but like that's a return, right? 490x is a return.
Yeah.
And
it's a cool project.
And if you're or BTC Flower or any of these things, like, and so there were.
And we can attack other chains. Like that's the thing. Is like why, like I don't want our community to be selfish or cut off or closed off, or like we're all in Web3 because we love this stuff, right?
Totally.
Like you're like what you're doing with Breakout. Like it's not just crypto, like exclusive to one ecosystem, right? We're all in this together. So like, yeah, do something on EVM, like using ICP or making it possible.
Totally.
I digress. Sorry, I'm getting over.
No, all good. Some of these talk, I mean, you know, like we could riff forever kind of thing. And, you know, I think that's good. I think it's good to be passionate, even if sometimes we go over the allotted time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got to wrap this up. We got less than 5 minutes here. Last question. I want at least 3 so that we can say we went through some questions. All right. By Mikey Crypto, he's asking if we're expecting more developable tooling docs like Zeppelin on IC. And I think it's more of just a talk of like what kind of tooling do you feel, as being a builder yourself, like what kind of tooling do you feel might be missing on IC that could help with the developer onboarding?
Well, I think this is going to get better, and I'm enthusiastic, and obviously like Code and State, right? You guys are helping with things like that, but I think what we'll start to see is, and I don't know, I don't know exactly the answer to this, but I think what we'll start to see is more of the docs that do exist and more of the docs that come out as new docs and tooling, all of a sudden will get sucked up by these AI kind of things. And then the reason that's awesome is because it's like the best DevRel resource. You have an AI that understands your docs, then your developers can use that AI as like a co-pilot for coding. And I think that's going to just create this flywheel that's going to make onboarding onto a new set of docs like super easy, much easier than it was before. Before, you know, if there wasn't enough Stack Overflow stuff, or if the docs were a little dry or whatever, it was harder to learn how to use a tool. But I think in the future, starting now, right, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of that. And if it doesn't exist, you know, like help the community build something.
You can be part of making it. Yeah,
exactly.
So again, everybody visit breakout.info for more information on the great initiatives he has going on there. For those in the ambassador program, we kept it minimalistic today. It's just Igor is your Zili keyword. Everyone, next week, this is our last live stream for this whole series. We're not going to be doing weekly live streams after this next week. It's the wrap-up panel. We're going to have people from our presenters from our PITS event at the conference come up and have a bit of time to chat and just wrap this whole live stream series up. It's been over 2 months now, like 2.5 months of content. It's been an honor to be part of sharing it. And it's been an honor to have your time, Igor. Sorry we went over quite a bit, but I think it was really valuable conversation, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts with us all.
No, super happy to be here. Grateful to be a part of the conference experience and everything that you guys are doing. And thank you guys, Code and State, for everything that you're doing for the ICP community. It's an amazing effort. It's an amazing group of folks, and we're lucky to have you.
It's an honor every day. And everyone out there, thank you so much for taking the time to join. We appreciate it. Go out there, fight the FUD, and stay bullish. We'll see you later.